right, people. It has been it's been an interesting last 12 or so hours. More than that, really. It's been an interesting day, pretty much. Right. So basically, I want to say about what kind of 9 p.m., 8 p.m. yesterday, there was tweets flying around. There were more screen grabs, and it was of Floyd Schofield's father alleging, and I want to use that word alleging, right, that his son had been, the words he used was poisoned. Okay, very serious allegation, very, very serious, extremely serious. Now, I hadn't seen any official, I didn't necessarily need an official, but you know what I mean, any one of the big publications like Ring or someone like that kind of take that story. So I kind of looked at it and said, all right, let's, obviously it's got some, obviously I'm not saying that him necessarily saying that has validity to it, but it obviously shows me that there's issues in Team Schofield and that this is likely going to get pulled when you see something like that. And then the Ring started reporting on it. We seen them showing screenshots actually of last week where Shakur Stevenson was saying, I'm actually scared that Schofield won't show up to fight. I just feel like they're looking for a way out. He was saying that last week. And then it was eventually stated that, you know, yes, he will withdraw due to illness. It says Floyd Schofield has fallen ill and was pulled by the British Boxing Board of Control, according to sources. There was two names lined up. Now I'll talk about them now in a wee bit. So I want to talk about the guy who ended up stepping up to the plate to face Shakur Stevenson. But I want to just talk about Floyd Schofield. Now, I watched Ade's video where he was speculating that maybe it had something to do with the way it could. And, you know, it's perfectly conceivable it could. I'm in agreement with him. I don't think that there's any fear or anything like that in Floyd Schofield. At the end of the day, he's a young man. This is his big break. He's getting God knows how much. I mean, he has to be getting about seven figures, you know, an incredible amount of money for such a young man who's done not a crazy amount in boxing so far anyway. So, and, you know, he was going into this fight, you know, you had the promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, saying, you know, I don't really want this fight, but they took it anyway. You know, someone who does that, when your promoter is kind of saying, I'm not really for it, you're getting probably seven figures, you're getting north of a mil anyway. And, you know, win or lose, you are, you know, there you are on the world stage. I don't see you pulling out this soon. I don't see it. You know, certainly not out of fear or anything like that. You know, I mean, like in terms of illness and stuff like that, look, it can happen, but, you know, out of fear, no. I agree with Eddie on that one. One thing I will say is, this is for the WBC lightweight title. Now, I know Ade was saying about the British Boxing Board with their check weights, and they have been fights as a result of that. I remember a couple of years ago, up in Belfast, there was a Celtic title fight. I think it was going to be on the right. I can't remember. It was either last year or the year before, where one of the fighters, I think a week out, was like 10 pounds over. We'll say like it was welterweight. So say he was 157 the week of the fight. The board were like, nope, too much to cut in a week. This fight's gone. They can be strict like that, but surely, like, Oscar would have known that. I mean, he's had fighters. He only had Barboza fight in the UK last week. He would have known that was something, you know, and Barboza looked huge in there against Jack Catterall, so he was cutting a lot of weight. He wasn't just doing it like that in one go, so I'm sure they would have made him aware of that. And as well as that, if I'm not mistaken, the WBC have check weights as well, don't they? I don't know if they're as necessarily extreme as the board or anything like that, but they do. I believe, last I checked, they did like, what, 30-day, outside the fight 30 days and 7 days, so I mean, it could be weight related. I don't know. Maybe look, you just don't know. You could go and maybe poisoning could be food poisoning, you know. And some people could say, oh well, did he eat the food in Saudi? Did this happen? Maybe you got food that you know is your own. It's come from your own camp, and you just get a bad batch. It happens. You know, I'm only speculating here. I don't know, but I don't think that. I certainly wouldn't be thinking that Floyd Schofield pulled out of this fight because he's afraid or anything like that. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate in the reasons. His dad is saying that, well, at least alleged that it was a poisoning of some sort. Look, I doubt it very much, but we need to wait and see. We need to wait and see what the board say. We need to wait and see if he's been examined and if any. I'm very much a believer of medical information should be private unless the individual wishes to make it public, and he's under no obligation to do that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. In the meantime, we still have Shakur Stevenson on this card. And by the way, before I talk about Shakur Stevenson, obviously, hopefully, Floyd Schofield is okay. That's the most immediate. Hopefully, whatever illness that has, come over him, he can make a full recovery and it won't hamper him in the slightest. That's the most important thing. In terms of this fight that Shakur Stevenson will now be in, he will now face Josh Padley. Now, Josh Padley, the last time I seen Josh Padley fight was on the undercard of Joshua versus Dubois. It was in Wembley Stadium. He beat Mark Chamberlain over 10 rounds. I really enjoyed it. He actually had Chamberlain down in that fight. Some of the scorecards were a little bit on the close side, but I think even if you take the knockdown at the point deduction, they all still had Padley winning. Maybe one of the judges, Bob Williams, would have had a draw. And prior to that, I mean, you look at this guy's record, and it didn't indicate that he was a puncher, but he seemed to have some, I would say, decent-ish power there. I think he fought that Jimmy First guy. Wasn't he the guy? No, I was thinking of someone else. I seen that Jimmy First guy, and I was like, was he the guy who fought that guy Campbell Hatton? No, he wasn't. But he was making a living. No, actually, I said living. That's an insult. He wasn't making any kind of living from boxing, but he was making a name on the small hall scene. And he beats Mark Chamberlain at Wembley Stadium on a prelim, or very early on the card. And now he's fighting Shakur Stevenson. Now, BoxRec have this as for the WBC lightweight world title. For a variety of reasons. One, that fight against Chamberlain was up at 140. So this guy, I think he's primarily campaigned, if I'm not mistaken, at 140. Yeah, 140. Well, I say 140, 139. He did win a international, a UBO. Never heard of that organization ever. Lightweight title back in 2023. But for the most part, these have all been, certainly, he won an area title at lightweight. Okay, but that was 23. So you're talking he's not made that weight in a while. Long time. Long time. And coming into this fight, I seriously doubt the WBC would even sanction that, because he cannot be ranked, surely not, in the top 10, 15 of the WBC rankings. That's not the point. I don't want this to sound kind of, how do I word it? I'm very happy for Josh Padley, because I'm sure he's going to get a mega payday. If it was 7 figures, I'd be over the moon for him. And that does not mean that I'm happy for him to go in there and lie down. No. I'd like to see him try and win. I wouldn't give him a prayer of winning. If he beat Shakur Stevenson, I would say that surpasses anything I've ever seen. That would surpass Buster Douglas, because he's taken it on 3 days, 4 days notice? Unbelievable. It would surpass anything I've ever seen in my wildest dreams in boxing. Even if there was no title on the line, it really would. This is a guy who was fighting on the small hall scene. For those who don't know, if you're fighting on the small hall scene, you're probably not making any money. You're probably losing money. You have to pay to get on those cards, for one. You have to try and recoup it in ticket sales. And if you're not a big ticket seller, you're going to struggle. You could be taking a loss. If you're making a profit, it's hardly anything. And plus, some of that has to go to the tax man, the corner, everything. Josh Padley was selling himself, not just in that Chamberlain fight, in the post-fight after. He talked about working, holding down a full-time job, looking for sponsors, he was talking about this in the ringside interview after the fight, and you just thought, right, he is a proper working class blue-collar fighter. He is working a full-time job to provide and to do his boxing. You can't help but respect that. And you can't help but feel, and you see talent there. You can't help but feel, oh my God, if he just had that opportunity. Now he's going in there with Shakur, who is a pound for pound level fighter. I'm not giving him a sniff of a prayer of winning. But if he goes in there and he doesn't take an absolute boatload of damage, which it could happen, but maybe Shakur will just end it early with maybe a body shot or something. The payday he's going to get from this, that could mean he can do it. He can actually go full-time boxing. And I'm always happy to see fighters, especially blue-collar fighters who are fighting on the small hall scene, get these opportunities, even in defeat, make the most of it. You're going to learn so much by fighting them as well, of what a world-level fighter is like. And to be able to actually take that back to the gym and to actually make it go full-time. If he gets, say, £1 million, I don't know what he's getting paid, but let's say he gets £1 million or 700 grand. Like, he is set for years and years and years. He's set for years to focus on his sport, focus on his craft. I can't help but be happy for him in that regard. Yes, I would have preferred to see Floyd Schofield, yes. But someone like Josh Padley, who, yeah, he really, that was, seeing him post-fight when he beat Chamberlain, it was like, that's someone there who was, he wants it. And it's just unfortunate. He can have it, but he has to, So, yeah, I hope he makes the most of this. And even in defeat, which is very likely, I don't even want to know what the odds are, because I'd say you'd have to put probably £1,000 down, maybe 10 grand, just to get a little, just to probably get 50 quid back. But, I'm still happy for him in that regard. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, on everything in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe as always. Until next time. Till later, really. Peace.